Hello again. So, in this video, I want to talk to you about Act 2, Summary and Analysis of A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. And so, just as kind of a recap, in Act 1, we got some exposition and we talked about the themes. And I just want to kind of refresh your memory some of the themes that we talked about: the role of women, the parental or family obligations, as well as the unreliability of appearance. Okay, and so as those things play out, we're going to see more of that in Act 2. So, Act 2 in this kind of play structure, as we've been talking about, is really centered around growing the conflict and growing those threads between the characters and the different plots, the different conflicts that these characters create. Because remember, in this kind of play, every single character and every single plot point connects and is relevant to one another. So, here we go. Act 2 takes place the next day. It's Christmas Day. We're still in the living room, so the setting hasn't changed. It's just the next day. It's Christmas Day, and Nora is nervous as can be. Remember, Nora was blackmailed by Krogstad in the previous act, and he basically told her, "Get me my job back, or else everybody's going to know, and you and your husband's lives will be ruined." Well, she's nervous because her husband said flat out, "I refuse to hire Krogstad back." So, here we go. Now, her childhood friend, Christine, has arrived, and they're talking about the costume ball. Apparently, there's going to be this costume ball this evening. It's kind of a Christmas party that a neighborhood friend is throwing, and so the whole neighborhood's going to be there. It's this big thing, and apparently Nora is supposed to perform a dance at this ball. And it's this at this point that we start to really get a sense for just how controlling Torvald is. That everything has to be perfect, and his wife is expected to perform at this party, to behave at this party, and he places these expectations on her as if she's a doll, if you will. Hence the name A Doll's House. She is a trophy wife, a doll that he basically treats like a piece of property. And up to this point, she's been possibly blissfully unaware of this. So, anyway, we also learn at the beginning of this act that Dr. Rank is terminally ill. If I had to guess, I think, if I remember right, it might be tuberculosis, but don't quote me on that. I don't remember 100%. But anyway, so once again, Torvald arrives, and Nora begs and pleads for him to keep Krogstad's job. Don't fire Krogstad. You don't understand. And he's like, "Give me one good reason." She's like, "I can't." And he's like, "I don't want to hear another word from this. It is not your place to tell me how to do my job. I'm the boss. I'm in charge. And to show you who's in charge, here's what I'm going to do." And he writes up the official "you're fired" letter, the official letter of termination for Krogstad, and he orders the maid to go take the letter directly to Krogstad, letting him know that he is terminated. And Nora collapses. She's like, "What have you done? You have ruined us." And he's like, "Whatever. You'll see. I am tough enough. I am man enough. I am alpha dog enough to take on any burden that your pretty little heart is worried about." You see how condescending he is in this? He's like, "I'm man enough to cover any issues that you're dealing with. Whatever you're dealing with, whatever issue you have with this Krogstad fellow, don't worry about it. I got this." So, anyway, he leaves and Dr. Rank arrives, okay? Nora's alone, Dr. Rank is here, and she's like, "Oh, did you want to talk to Torvald?" And he's like, "No, actually, I'm going to talk to you." and he lets her know that he's on death's door. I am dying. It won't be long now. I'm on death's door. And she's really upset about this. He's a family friend. He's been a friend of theirs for forever. And she starts trying to make him feel better. But here's the thing. Just as she's been treated her entire marriage as a trophy wife, as an object, she starts trying to use herself as an object here, and she flirts with Dr. Rank very inappropriately to try to cheer him up. And he, he's eating it up, he's fallen for it, and she even gets so wrapped up in this manipulation of him that she gets to the point where she's on the cusp, just right on the cusp, of asking Dr. Rank, who, by the way, is rather wealthy, to basically give her the money, to loan her the money. She knows that he would do it in a heartbeat. He even says as much, like, whatever it is that you need from me, tell me, I will do it. And all she has to do is ask. And the money is hers, and she could pay off the loan, and that'd basically dissolve any leverage that Krogstad might have. Maybe. Probably not, because he still has the whole legal thing. But in her mind, that's all she needs. So, again, remember we talked about her naivete on financial and legal matters. Well, anyway, it's at this moment when she's right about to ask Dr. Rank for the money that he says, I love you. In fact, I'm in love with you. I don't love you like a friend. I love you like I wish we were married. And she just stops. She's like, wait, what? What'd you say? He's like, I'm in love with you. And it's at this point she realizes she can't go through with this. Her morals are kicking in, and she's like, I can't do this to you. And she stops all flirtation, and she stops all manipulation. And she's like, I can't. We can't do this. We have to stop. And he leaves rather dejectedly. Okay, and so it's here that we see Nora start to wise up to the relationships in her life. She is starting to understand and to grow in her relationships. And it's ironic here that her knowledge of this is starting to grow, but her husband, Torvald, his knowledge of relationships remains completely static, right? All the other characters, they're starting to grow in their knowledge and understanding of one another as these secrets between them all start to come to light, but not Torvald. He remains static. He remains in the dark, and he's the only character that does not grow. So, anyway, Dr. Rank leaves, and Krogstad arrives. He's furious. He wants answers. How dare you allow your husband to terminate me? We had an agreement. We had a deal. I should go in there right now and set the record straight. And she's like, no, don't do that. He's like, you know what? Here's what I want. I'm going to up the price. I'm no longer content with you just paying back the loan and keeping me quiet. No. Now, not only do I want my job back, I want a promotion. So you are going to convince your husband to not only keep my job, but to promote me. And she's like, I don't know what kind of leverage you think I have on my husband, but that's definitely not going to happen. He says, fine. You don't want to play this game? Fine. I have here in my hand evidence of everything that's transpired. Here's all the evidence. We're going to make sure that your husband sees it. And so he walks out to the letterbox, to the mailbox, and he places the letter, the tell-all letter, in the mailbox. Now, it's not a simple situation like nowadays where she could just go out to the mailbox and retrieve it. These mailboxes are locked shut. And only Torvald has the key. Remember, he's a very controlling, my way or the highway, this is my castle kind of guy. And so he's the only one with the key. And remember, he doesn't want his wife to do anything outside of her, what he would call womanly duties. That does not involve getting the mail. So there's a pretty fat chance that she's going to be able to get the key from him. Pretty unlikely. Anyway, Krogstad leaves, drops off the letter in the mailbox. Nora is devastated. And it's at this point that Christine arrives, or comes back in, and tells her that she's got an idea. Nora confesses everything to Christine, and Christine's like, I've got a plan. I've got an idea. I'm going to take care of some things. I'm going to handle some things. In the meantime, I need you to keep your husband from reading that letter. Can you do that until I get back? And Nora's like, yeah. I can distract him. I can handle that. So Christine leaves to go do whatever it is that she's going to do. And Torvald comes in, and Nora starts trying to use the same manipulation that she used on Dr. Rank on her husband. Remember, her husband treats her like a piece of property, like a piece of meat. And she's fully aware of that at this point. And she uses that to her advantage. And she starts referring to herself in the same condescending pet names that he called her before. And she's even like, let me dance for you. Let me show you the dance that I'm going to perform at the ball. And you can critique it and you can give me some pointers. I need your expertise. And he's just eating out of the palm of her hand at this point. And so she starts dancing, but she's so frantic in her desperation to keep his attention on her and off of the mailbox that she starts to get more and more wild and crazy with her dance. And Torvald starts to get upset. Remember, he's extremely controlling. He's like, no. That is not how you're going to dance at the party. That is completely inappropriate. I'm not happy with this. Okay? And we see, again, this relationship between Nora and Torvald start to develop. And I think it's kind of interesting here. I wrote a note over here that we see Nora use the knowledge that she has of how Torvald views her as a way to manipulate him. She even refers to herself in the same condescending pet names. And it's the same tactic she used on Rank, but I want you to notice something. I wrote in my note over here. When Rank reveals that he loves her, she stops all manipulation, she stops all games. She hasn't stopped her manipulation of Torvald. This tells us one of two things. Either she doesn't love Torvald the way that we might have thought she did, or she doesn't believe that Torvald loves her in a true love sort of fashion. Could go either way, could be both. But it is, for us, the audience, the first time that we really see Nora begin to understand the dynamics of her relationship with her husband, and it's not good. So, interestingly enough, in one of our themes where we talked about the unreliability of appearances, on the surface, their relationship seems to be pretty ironclad. You know, she's the dutiful wife and he's the caring and caretaking husband. But in reality, man, there's some rocky patches going on in their relationship. It's not good. So, anyway, Christine returns and she reveals that she has delivered some sort of note to Krogstad. We don't know what it is yet, but that he's not going to get the note until tomorrow because he's not home. So, Nora has to find a way to keep Torvald from opening the mail for at least a day. Now, knowing what we know about how much of a workaholic Torvald is, and how he's constantly in his study, constantly working, constantly worrying about paperwork, that's kind of a tall order for Nora. So we'll see what happens. Act 3 is the resolution, where all of these things come to a head. So we'll see how it pans out.